Good morning, welcome folks. It's Wednesday the 10th of June. Another week passes us by and I hope and pray that you're all doing okay. You're staying safe and keeping healthy, of course. For many of us now, we've been able to get outside a lot more. We've been able to meet up with a few family and friends outdoors, of course, and keeping that all important social distancing in place. And that's been a big relief. To be able to see people again is so wonderful. It lifts the spirits. And in the news then, we've had a lot of real positivity. Our little nation of Northern Ireland has had 3 days in a row now with zero coronavirus related deaths. Now, there are still new cases being found, so we're not entirely out of the woods, but the numbers are small each day, it seems, and really the overall number of active cases should begin to decrease fairly rapidly in the coming weeks if these kind of patterns continue. And that gives us a lot of hope. This is why our restrictions are being lifted. This is why high street shops are beginning to open. This is why golf courses have opened. This is why we're able to meet up with people outdoors. And hopefully then this is why we shall be allowed to do things in our church buildings not too far in the future. And on that note, just simply to say nothing official has changed. We're still waiting for the executive to lift restrictions before we can do anything really. But each week that passes, we get closer and closer to being able to do something. And when we look around the world, we can see the sort of direction that lies ahead for us. There are countries like New Zealand, for example, who are pretty much back to normality since they've reached the stage of having zero active cases in their nation. That seems to be the key moment when you can really start to get back to normal. And for them, public life is virtually back to what it was. So even social distancing has been relaxed. And that gives us real hope. If we in Northern Ireland can get to a situation where there are no new cases for a few weeks, then that should allow enough time to pass for the virus to begin to really die out. And on current trends, we are headed toward that kind of scenario, but it's still going to require more patience. We're not there yet. And the key thing for us now then is that complacency doesn't set in. We've come this far. We've seen a massive reduction in the spread of the virus, but the threat is still there. And if we don't stick to the rules in place and we start going in and out of people's houses and so on, then we are risking this second wave that we've been told could happen. And ultimately, if that is the case, we're risking lives. So we've got to stay vigilant, we've got to stay careful, we've got to keep doing what we're told to do, but things definitely are moving in the right direction. Across the UK, we're seeing lots of things returning. People have been queuing at IKEA like mad. People have been starting to head towards high street shops. Lots of businesses are getting back up and running. And hopefully all this means good news for the economy and good news for business owners. We're also seeing sport returning to our televisions. The Premier League restarts a week today. The PGA Tour Golf returns tomorrow. Spanish football returns tomorrow. UEFA are busy organising the restart of the Champions League and the Europa League competitions. So if you're in the sport, you've got all that to look forward to in the coming days and weeks. So on the whole, lots to be positive about. Lots of optimism in the air regarding the virus. And as I said, once anything significant changes in the church, I will let you know immediately. We do expect social distancing to remain in place until such times that there are no active cases across the nation at least. So that could be for quite some time maybe. We might have a case when church reopens. We'll have to have some sort of one-way system through our church. Now, thankfully, we do have kind of 2 aisles that would allow for that. We'll maybe have a period where we can't meet together for conversation after services, certainly can't do tea and coffee, things like that. We may have to sit separated in the pews for a while. We just don't really know yet. And there's even a bit of debate around singing, since in theory that can kind of spread the germs a little bit more easily. And I've heard some people suggesting that maybe we won't be able to do that either. So we just don't know. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumour. But without a doubt, church life is going to be unusual for a while, even when we do come back for services and the like. But we're going to have to be patient. Just keep praying that the Lord would intervene. Pray that those numbers of cases would really drop off entirely and that we would reach a stage where there are no active cases in our country. Wouldn't that be amazing? And as we're beginning to think seriously here about what life on the other side of this will look like, I wanted to finish today by reading and sharing a few thoughts from John chapter 14. Very familiar words. Jesus says to his disciples things like, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. He says, believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. He said, I am the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. A little later he adds, very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father, and I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. And finally, in the passage a little later, he says, all this I have spoken while still with you, but the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I've said to you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give as the world gives. Don't let your hearts be troubled, and don't be afraid. And really, Jesus was preparing his disciples for life on the other side of the cross here. This is him coming to the cross, and he's instructing his disciples of what life after his death and resurrection might be like. Preparing them for life after he had gone to be with his Father, but significantly life with the Spirit, when the Spirit was given to them and with them. And so he speaks words of comfort. He says, don't be afraid. Don't let your hearts be troubled. So he recognizes that there's fear, there's worry, because it's an element of risk. It's an element of unknown. Moving from known to unknown is risky. And so he speaks into that, bringing comfort and reassuring words. He also then speaks with words of future promise. So a reminder that this life is not permanent, this world is not our home, but rather the life that is yet to come is where we actually belong. Jesus is going there to prepare a place for us, a place with our name on it, a home where we can live forever. And this is the kind of perspective that Jesus is saying we ought to carry with us through our lives. So words of comfort, words of future promise. We also then see that it's words of authority. He describes himself to be the only way to the Father. That's significant because it shows us that this is someone who knows what he's talking about. He has come from the Father, and his words are therefore not empty. This is someone who has real power, real authority, and we can be confident that he is speaking truth that we cannot even begin to imagine. He also then, fourthly, speaks words of vision and optimism. So one day he will be gone from them, but even then, they will carry on with the work that he was doing. In fact, they will do even greater things, that is, things even on a larger scale than he was doing. So no matter what kind of discouragement or fear that those disciples had, or that we currently have, perhaps the future on the other side of all this is going to be even brighter, even bigger than before. And finally, fifthly, he speaks words of empowerment and peace. The Holy Spirit is key to this. The Holy Spirit is being sent to his disciples, to us. The Spirit of God who brings peace, the Spirit of God who comforts, the Spirit of God who equips and empowers us for service. And the truth is, folks, God never leaves us alone or empty-handed in our lives. Sometimes we may feel like that is the case, but in actual fact, it's never true. He has called us to be a church together. He has called us to be missional in our towns and cities. And so he has empowered us for the task. His Spirit lives within us, keeps us connected to Christ and strengthened for each day that comes. So folks, our earthly future is uncertain at the moment. Never mind the virus even. We've seen recently the brokenness, the division that lies in our society, the hurt, the discrimination, and so on. And it can make us fearful for the future, what is happening in our world and in our societies. But God calls us to trust in him and to live and walk by faith, not by sight. He called Abraham all the way back in Genesis 12 to move from what was known to what was unknown. And Abraham made a decision to put his faith in the Lord. He set out on that journey, not knowing where the Lord would take him or what it might look like. But as we know, that led to enormous blessing for him, for his family, for his offspring, his descendants, and in fact for the entire world. So folks, let us endeavour to trust in God as we move from known to unknown. And let's remember Jesus' words, do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not be afraid. That's us for now. Until Sunday morning when we're gathered together, 10:30 as normal. God bless.